This is what you probably received as part of the invitation or as an email from the product management or as part of the developer blog. This is the official announcement of the new features in version 2.22. As you see, it's 7 or 8 of them. We will discuss each of them one by one. And now let's just start with the topics. First one is in xTour. Oops, that was too fast. Just a second, here we go. It's xTour. The topic itself is the handling of the break rules or drivers rules. Before I hand over to Almut, I just want to show you what PTV usually does in a context of a one-to-one routing. What you see here is a test client developed by myself. On the right side, you see an international route from Barcelona to Budapest. I just linked some of my favorite cities. It takes quite a long time to drive the whole route. The green bars here in this chart just signal the waypoints with about 2 hours of service at each waypoint. And in the middle, you see alternating behavior between transparent red, which is driving, and solid red, which is a break due to an activated break rule. In the xServer interface, we have different kinds of tour restrictions. We have international drivers rules and also working time rules. So the drivers rules is what you see right now with inserting of breaks of 45 minutes breaks after a certain time behind the wheel, so to say. Okay, so much about the theory of what is a break and rest rule. I now hand over to Almut. Oops, where? Second. Need to share assign the screen to you. Almut is part of our developer team. She's involved in the tour optimization engine, and she will tell us about the breaks we have invented.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you see the right screen. As Bernd already mentioned, you can use the break rules, so you can have breaks according to the laws. What you can't do with those break rules is specify the exact time when those breaks will take place. So it could happen that one day your lunch break will be around noon, and the second day it will be at 3 p.m. Just as it fits best into the tour. When you want to specify the exact time, you can use break intervals for that. And with break intervals, you can specify an interval, maybe from noon to 2 p.m. and a break duration, for example, 45 minutes. And then the algorithm will schedule a break between noon and 2 p.m. and it will take 45 minutes. This is not a new feature, but what is new here that you can now specify multiple break intervals with the same break duration. But if you see that there, it still says it's just one break interval. This is true because you can kind of trick that. So you can now give this interval for the break interval using GDF time domains. And when you use GDF time domains, you can specify multiple intervals, maybe on the same day, but also reoccurring every day at the same time. And for every of this interval, now the algorithm will schedule a break of the same length. And so you can have multiple break intervals. I will show you this in an example in a minute, but I want to draw your attention to another thing first. Until now, you could only use the break intervals together with one operating interval, but now you can also use break intervals with multiple operating intervals, and you can also specify them with GDF time domains. So I prepared an example for this. We have a depot here in Karlsruhe, and we have a customer in Nuremberg, and we want to deliver something from Karlsruhe to Nuremberg. For this, we have a vehicle that is located in Karlsruhe, and it needs to go back to Karlsruhe. And the driver of this vehicle starts his shift at 9 a.m. and his shift is 11 hours long. So during this shift, he needs to take breaks. Both of those breaks are 45 minutes long. And the first break will be from noon until 1 p.m. And the second break will be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And when we send this request, we can look at the tour events and we see, okay, the first we start the tour in Karlsruhe at 9 a.m. We start the trip in Karlsruhe and we pick up whatever we have in Karlsruhe and we start driving until the first break interval here, and we start a break of 45 minutes that takes place here, and we go on driving until we reach Nuremberg, deliver our goods and make our way back. And during the way back, we take another break. During the second break interval, and it also takes 45 minutes. This is just for one day, but you can also do that for multiple days with multiple operating intervals now. This is everything from my side, and I hand over to Bernd again.
Okay, I'll take the screen just a second. Okay, one more statement from my side. Well, as I said at the beginning, we have these official laws according to certain standards where the law defines after what period of driving or working you have to take what period of having a break. And what Almut just showed us is more, let's say, flexible. It's more the custom approach. There is another difference where you can parameterize the length of the breaks and at what interval the break has to be taken. Another difference between these two approaches is who uses these approaches. I think in the long distance routing experience or tour optimization, you tend to use the official laws. They give you the information where during the day the break has to be taken. And the Almut approach, the other one, the alternative approach, is more in the, let's say, service technicians, field service, or short distance range breaks where you have a definition of I'm working from Monday to Friday from 8 in the morning till 5 p.m. and I'm supposed to take a break around noon of a certain length, and that's the second approach. That's what you can customize. We have different customers who need this kind of approach, but who have different expectations towards the length of the break and when the break has to be taken. Yeah, Daniel, Isabel, any questions in the chat about that?
No questions at the moment.
Not yet, but just one remark. This functionality at the moment is in routing, so it's a route optimization. It's not yet available in tour planning, so that's route optimization. It's not yet available in routing. This is planned for this summer.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for the additional comment. Let's move on to the next topic. It's about the custom feature layer, the, let's say, successor of the road editor. We have some players who are already using this special xData topic to create their own custom feature layers. For that, it is relevant that you can gather information about segments based on different selection criteria. Some criteria is just geographic based. You want to look for segments near a specific coordinate. That was already possible in the past. And the new feature now is, if we look into this, come on browser, here we go. The new feature now is that we've got a segments by ID request. You can provide one or several segment IDs, and then we will return the information of these segments. This is a little example for this. I have calculated a route near Karlsruhe, a route which crosses the river on a specific ferry and then goes back to the road network, of course. Here is the list of the different segments. That's just a routing call. If we look into the segments, we see that there is one combined transport segment. Let me just select some of these IDs. Then I'm using another client which supports this new feature, the new function in xData, and then I'm asking for the properties of these specific segments. What I can get is the geometry. This is what I use to display these segments on the map. I get information about the network categories. Is it a small road? Is it a larger road? In which country is the segment? What is the name of this segment, for example? And we also get the ID or the information about the combined transport segment. That's what we see here. It's the ferry here in blue color. And that's the new feature. I want to use this opportunity to give you more information about how to work with these combined transport features. Let me just go back to my test client once again and geocode. Oh, no, buongiorno, by the way, we have a lot of Italian guests today. Let me just use, I hope there's a ferry. No. Here we go. So one standard feature which was already established in the past is give me the ferries or give me the segments which have combined transport which are closest to the coordinate of Ancona, for example. And if we look into the map, I didn't change the visible section. We can just have a look at, here we go, the port of Ancona and some ferries that are departing from over there. What is special is that they are not only departing from 1K, but there's also some other connections who are located here. And this is why I use the other approach by asking for a specific geographic boundary. Now you see that there was some more ferry connections who have just been painted. And that's because with a second request, I asked for all ferry connections which start or end within that blue rectangle. And you can use this to specify that you want to use one of those ferries. For example, let me just use this one, wherever it ends, to drive to the city of, here we go. Hopefully I made a proper parameterizing. That's probably missing. And by using this segment ID as a second waypoint, I have pushed the ferry to use that. Oh, what's he doing? Driving back to the to the continent again, and then back to Milano. So whether it was meaningful or not, that's a different story. It's possible now. Okay, so much about the segment IDs. Daniel, Isabel, questions in the chat? Remarks?
No questions, no remarks.
Great, let's go back to the slides. Next feature is also about custom feature layer. We invented the possibility to parameterize specific road segment attributes. In the past, it was attributes such as maximum weight, maximum height, in the traditional truck attributes context. And now it is also possible, as you can see in this example. I have to do this on my local machine. Just a second. The reason for this is because in the cloud, the custom feature layer is not activated. So here we go. This example, which is using this new feature, uses two routings from one coordinate to the other end. One is the standard routing, which takes about 47 seconds, and the other one applies a reduced speed value of 5 kilometers an hour on this central segment here in the center. With this reduced speed, it takes us about 80 seconds to come from one end of the road to the other end. This is something you can override now. You can create a custom layer where you parameterize your desired speed value for such a segment. There is one more example about this. If I just set the speed value to 0 kilometers per hour, that means we will have to take a detour, of course, to reach the destination finally on the eastern part of this route. Any questions from the audience so far, Daniel? Any remarks, Isabel?
There are now 2 questions regarding the segment ID.
Okay.
So should I just read it loud and we answer it, or should
Now you have to.
Okay, so the first question is, could this return the segment speed limit? So with the, I think the question is regarding a feature we had with xServer 1, where we had the possibility to look up with the segment ID, to have a lookup in some site tables. And that is not possible with this segment ID because it's not the provider ID, just a encoded segment ID. But this feature will come in xMatch during this year, so it's planned for xMatch 2.
Okay.
So the provider segment ID, and with that you can then do it, but it's not possible with xData at the moment.
To put this question on a more generic level, it's a very good question, of course. My first question about this was, what you see in the grid right now is all the properties we return. So, and of course, one of the questions that arise very soon is, how can I get information such as truck attributes with this new xData function, or with that generic segments request? And from my, as far as I know today, that's not possible. Daniel, you know more about this? Is this on the roadmap, or?
That's correct. It's not possible for now. It is planned that you get a function to retrieve this information, but it's still in planning, so it's not provided right now. And also the form is still discussed.
Okay. Isabel?
Okay, there was a second question as well in the questions section. Should I just read it?
Yeah.
Okay, I do. Retrieving segments using the segment IDs is consistent using the same map, right? If the map is upgraded, the segment IDs could be changed, right? So
that's correct.
I'm not sure. Yeah. That's correct.
In fact, the segment IDs are changing. They are not stable within the maps. And that means if you want to create your own custom, road editor somehow, then you would have to store, let's say, geographic criteria on your side. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, but you have to store the criteria how you would select segments. And then whenever you want to create a custom feature layer, you have to perform the selection based on one out of these 4 different criteria, or let's say 3 out of 4, the geometric ones, to identify the segments you want to touch or you want to push into that custom feature layer, and then you're on the safe side. Everything else is a bit at your own risk. I hope that answers the question. Daniel, any comments about this procedure from your side?
No, that's exactly what we recommend to do, or what you actually need to do, to be sure that you just save with your properties you save in the database, also the geometry, so you can do this procedure for every map.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then I would carefully move over to the next topic. Here we go. Speed handling is also done, hopefully. Here we go. Next topic is about geocoding. The new feature itself, once again, let me show this with that test client is already connected to the cloud. That's great. Okay, let's just look for Houston on the map. Here we go. What we get is several places called Houston somewhere in the US. Probably the most popular one is Houston in Texas, and we can just reduce the search by adding the state abbreviation here in this additional parameter called allowed countries. With that parameter, we are immediately filtering the 100% map data, geocoding index data, here we go, to a specific subunit. Let's say this is maybe just 1–2% of the whole map. That has a big impact on, of course, on the region you are dealing with, on the results that you get, and also on performance. Let me just use, should give you a demonstration for a bulk geocoding, what that means. I'm using some German address data, 500 records. There we go. Oh, that was not working. That was the wrong field. That has to be here. Here we go. Sorry for that. I'm now performing a bulk geocoding of 500 addresses using this special parameter, and it was done after 3 seconds. Let me just show you what it means if you do not use that parameter. By the way, that's now just application handling what happened. So here we go. We've got some quality criteria about these objects. We've got the addresses shown in the map. And now let me just apply the same mechanism without that parameter, which limits the data to the country of Germany. And the first one, it took about 3 seconds, and now it probably takes more than 10 seconds, which is a factor of 5 up to 7 times faster. So here we go, about 20 seconds compared to 3 seconds. That's a significant difference in the speed, especially if you want to perform bulk geocoding. Any questions about that? Or comments from the moderator side?
No.
Okay, then let me just move on. The next topic is about routing and also xDima routing. We've invented a new feature which allows you to parameterize or to enforce that the turning maneuvers in a routing to consider, for example, the driver's passenger side, so we can ensure that you are leaving the vehicle on the proper side or not taking turns into, let's say, the turning left, which is said to be more complicated or more dangerous than a routing where you only consider turning into the right direction. Let me show you what that means with xTour client, routing client. Here we go. Once again, standard routing. Here we are. Standard routing is leaving the PTV building at the side entrance, turns left into that direction, goes straight ahead, and then turns right 1 time and then left 1 time. This is said to be some kind of a risky maneuver, not at that crossing maybe, but in general. And then we now can parameterize the routing in a way that you can enforce that you want to turn only in the direction of the passenger or driving straight ahead, but turn left or let's say turn into the driver's direction is forbidden. Let me just show you the quality of the output. So this has 2 effects here. When we leave the PTV, we turn right because turning left is forbidden. We turn right, we follow that street until we reach the roundabout. We leave the roundabout at the end. That's really probably a nonsense example, but it shows the effect on the routing itself. And then here, instead of turning right left, we just go straight ahead and turn right twice until we reach the final destination at that coordinate. That's now something you could parameterize. None means the same behavior as you're probably used to. Prefer passenger means no turning into the direction of the driver. In European, of course, it's no turning left, or in Germany, for example, it's do not turn left. In the UK, it's not do not turn right, of course. And custom means we can also parameterize some more abstract level of how to deal with turning maneuvers. Maybe Daniel or Isabel, you can give us some more info about what custom means.
Custom means this value for prefer passenger side turning. That's a fixed value. It's just an enumeration. Maybe your needs for your company might differ, and also maybe differ completely. So you want to prefer turning on driver's side. There we can adjust the value to your needs and provide you with a result you can then use with custom.
Okay, and custom means we give you a string, a specific binary string, which is including the behavior in the binary, and you can just add it as an additional string to the routing request. That's it for that feature. Let's go back to the slides and come on to the next routing feature. What you see on the map is a route corridor. I'll try to keep it short. We can also provide this as a sample in the browser, as a public sample. So here I can create, for example, several waypoints on this route, and then we calculate the route from one waypoint to the other waypoint, but we also create a buffer around the route. And the buffer in this case is an additional driving horizon of 5 minutes in all directions along the route. So in the past, we only have offered the feature of an isochrone, which just focuses on a single point. Let me just show you this again. Let me remove these coordinates. Just create a short route within Germany. Oops. I'll just restart the client. Here we are, 2 waypoints. And then let me just calculate the isochrones. Oh, that was a bit too fast, too big. Here we've got the areas of reachability within 5 minutes around these waypoints heading for outbound directions. Sorry. And what is new now is if we calculate a single route, we can just use the encoded path of this route as the center of the corridor. And when I now press calculate reachable area, we get the geometry along the route. Here we go. Let me just keep the layer and reconstruct the route again. So we've got both at the same. Here's the driving of the route in the center, and all the points within the red area will be reachable from the route within less than 5 minutes of detour. This is also working with distance-based approaches, and you can use it for 2 major use cases. One is the classical POI search. Let me start with the second one here, the POI search. So let's say you have a database with parkings, petrol stations, all these kind of stuff, and then you can just create what parkings can I reach along the route I'm supposed to drive tomorrow or in the future within a given maximum detour. And it's also relevant in the geofencing approach when you can just trace the route of a vehicle, get the GPS coordinates every once in a while, and just look whether the vehicle is still within this corridor, and if it's outside, you can trigger an alert, a reaction, call the cavalry, whatever, and take care of the violation of the fence somehow. Of course, you can pre-calculate this, and this makes things easier for you. Any questions about this? Oh, there's one question, whether it is possible to consider the turning restrictions we've shown a few seconds before, also in the tour optimization. So this feature is available in the distance matrix. Well, to be more precise, if we look into the test client, I have used the parameter which is stored in the profile, in the request profile, and the request profile is available for all xServer requests. Of course, the map matcher would probably not use that kind of feature, but it's available in xDima and in xRoute. Any comments from the others? Requirements?
No, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And I'll move back to the slides. There is one more topic we would like to talk about, and that's the change in the default values of our routing profiles. Linked to this, if you are using the xServers on premise and you want to discuss about, do you want to benefit from the new features in 2.22, should you perform the update, yes or no? Of course, if you do not benefit from any of these nice features, you are not forced to update your environment. Never touch a running system, then you can keep the version you use right now. If you want to migrate to version 2.22, we strictly recommend to take care of this paragraph, which says that you are recommended to update your high performance routing networks, because we have changed some of the internal default parameters in the routing profiles. And on the first argument for updating the profiles, of course, is to be aligned with the data situation. And the second argument is, if you are identifying a search graph by profile properties, there is an internal logic which just looks for, is there a valid search graph which matches my routing parameters? Then you might run into a, no, there is not such a search graph, because the profiles you have used in your request do not match the local profiles any longer. Any comments from your side, Daniel? Or
no, that's correct so far. And
okay.
yeah, just recommendation, if you renew your xServer, usually you also use a new map, and then you will upgrade or update your search graphs or your high performance network data anyway. So this is just a hint from our side that this xServer will require to recalculate it, but usually that's no additional task when you put an actual map as well.
Okay, if you have questions about that topic, just get in touch with your local technical staff, and we will tell you more about this or give you directions how you can proceed with this. Thanks for that. Let me just move on with the slides then. So from content-wise, it was already what we wanted to show you today. Let's just have a look at the generic release history, which is also available in public. As you can see, there is not only the 7 bullets we have shown you today. There's much more we've implemented in the version 2.22. So just feel free to look into this list as well. If there's something that catches your attention, get back to us, ask us what is the meaning of a specific feature. We will tell this, we will discuss this with you one-to-one. That was one thing. And the other thing was that we will have some more webinars in the next months with 3 major topics. Topic number 1 is detailed toll, which is the default value for the new xServer 2.22. So we are now offering detailed toll as an improved mechanism of toll calculation. This is worth having an own webinar. The second topic is cost optimized routing. So routing where you can just provide your tariffs for the driver's working time, the tariffs for the vehicle's kilometer-based prices, and in combination with the toll prices, we can create the route that really minimizes the costs of such a route. That's the second topic. And the third one is how to handle tours while the drivers are already, the vehicle is already on the road, tours in execution. That's what we will show in the third webinar in Q2. So much for now. Thank you very much. If there are no more questions, I think then we're done for today. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you very much, Almut, for your contribution. Also for the other colleagues who joined today, and of course for your patience to listen to Machine Gun Welter introducing you into the new features. Thank you very much. See you again in about 3 months with release 2.23 or in one of the other webinars. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.